Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making this amazing artificial grass for inside a planter box. This artificial grass is great for any square planter that you want to put crochet flowers in. I'll also link in the cards if you have a round planter box or rectangular. I have tutorials for all three shapes. And yes, if you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, they're available over on my website, secretyarnery.com. And you don't have to worry about being able to read a pattern. All of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. To make this artificial grass, you'll just need some eyelash yarn. I am using Eyelash Dazzle from Ice Yarns. I just love that glitz and glam that it has, but you could use any eyelash yarn at all. If you don't want to use eyelash yarn, the alternative is to use just regular 4-weight worsted acrylic and make the English Garden granny square. That also looks quite cute in a planter box, although it is not quite as glamorous as the real artificial grass. So Eyelash Dazzle or an eyelash yarn. You'll also need a 6mm crochet hook and 1 stitch marker and a pair of scissors. You can use a needle if you feel like it, but I am not. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back on whatever row you are working on. Get your supplies ready and let's get started. So I'm going to be using eyelash yarn, and I'm going to show you how to work with eyelash yarn to get a granny square, just perfect grass for your planter. I'll also be linking this yarn in the description box if you love the look of it. It is super soft. You wouldn't even believe that it is as great as it is, but it is definitely one of my top 3 yarns in the world. To make your eyelash granny square, we're just going to start by making a slip knot, just normal how we do. We don't need a long tail because we're not cutting anything off, and we're going to work over it a bit. So a short tail and a slip knot. Shrink that down and pop it onto your 6mm hook. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now you cannot see your stitches. You can see it a little bit. We're going to be going by feel. So if you are not sure how to do a granny square, then follow along with the granny square tutorial. I'll also link that up in the cards. We are doing that exact pattern, but we're going to do it in eyelash yarn. So we're going to go by feeling. So you don't have to watch the screen as much as you have to feel with your finger and thumb and listen along. So you can feel that knot, our slip knot. We're going to go into that stitch right above. So I can feel it right here. That's where we're going to work. So we're just doing our ring, our chain 3 ring. But the trick here is to make sure we hold it open with our finger and thumb. We want a U shape underneath our hook, and we want to be holding that open. And we're also going to be working over our tail. Okay, so slip stitch to form a ring. Don't let go. We want that open. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Wrap your yarn right where we're holding it open, 2 double crochets. And I'm not letting go, I'm still holding it open. So there is 1, and there is 2. Chain 2, 1 and 2. Still holding it open. I'm holding it open the whole time. I'm just going to slowly rotate my thumb around so I have more space along the ring. So 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, 1 and 2. Still holding it open. 3 more double crochets into the center of that ring. 1, 2, and 3. Still have my finger in there, still holding it open. You can try to slide those stitches back if you can. Chain 2 again, 1 and 2, and our last 3 double crochets. Still going over my tail. Now I'm not holding it open, I'm just pulling at my beginning shell, my beginning stitch. I can feel it now where it's open. So there's 2 and 3. So find that chain 3 just with your finger and thumb. We know where it is. We're going to join with a chain 1 and a single crochet to the top of that chain 3 to join. Just anywhere where you think the top of that chain 3 is. So we're going to join with 1 single crochet. Now I'm going to hold that open underneath my hook. Pop my thumb straight through it, or my finger, and we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Make a bigger loop and get your stitch marker. We're going to pop our stitch marker right into where we're holding it open with our finger and thumb. That's going to mark our corner space, so we know where it is when we're working around our square. We always have to use a stitch marker. So get that loop back on your hook. Wiggle your fingers to find that space again. Our stitch marker is in the same spot. 2 double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2. Now feel along. You'll feel your 1 double crochet, 2nd double crochet, 3rd. You'll feel that chain space for our next corner. Again, pop your finger and thumb into there to hold it open. And do a corner. So corners, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And I'm keeping my thumb right in that space, or my finger, depending. So I know where that is. So I've done 1, 2, and 3, chain 2, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets into that same space, and I'm holding it open with my finger and thumb. That's how I know where it is. I have my finger and thumb right in there. 1, 2, and 3. So there's our corner. Feel along again. We want to feel for our next corner space, which is right there, and we're going to do a corner. So 3 double crochets. And I'm going to do the whole square with you, so don't feel like I'm leaving you behind. 1, 2, here's 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets into that same corner space. 1, 2, and 3. Now if I'm going too fast or too slow, hit that gear icon on the video and hit the speed. You can slow me down or speed me up, and you can also just pause me and get caught up. So adjust my speed right down there with that gear. Into the next space, wrap your yarn, and we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets into the next corner space. So there's 2, and 3, chain 2, I'm still holding it open, I have my pinky in it this time, and 3 double crochets into the same corner space. Just like that. And into the next space, that's where our stitch marker is. So you can see why we put our stitch marker in, or we would be really lost right now. So into the space where our stitch marker is, we're going to finish our corner. I'm going to leave my stitch marker there just so you can see the space I'm working into. But you can take the stitch marker out. There is 1. We're going to do 3 double crochets. So there is 2, and here is 3. Now if you're using a small flower pot, this might be the right size for you. If you're using a larger flower pot, let's keep going. So we're going to join with a chain 1 and a single crochet to the top of that chain 3 to join. So just use your finger and thumb to isolate that first stitch, that first chain, and we're just going to make 1 single crochet into the top of it. Doesn't exactly matter where, and you can't really use your eyes. Try to get 2 strands on the top of your hook, but again, don't worry about it. And before you finish that stitch, find that new corner and just hold that open with your finger and thumb. 1 single crochet to join. Still holding it open, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2. So this is when I make a bigger loop, and I take out my stitch marker, and I pop it into that space I'm holding open with my finger and thumb. So that marks the new corner of the round we're working on. So loop back on your hook, shrink it down, and now the only difference is we have a space along the side. So into that space along the side, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And into the corner space, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. So we're just using our fingers to feel in between the shells, in between the stitches. So there's 1 and 2. Here is 3, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets into that same corner space. So our corners are always going to be the same. 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Into the next space along the side in the center, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And into that corner space, just using your fingers and thumb to feel that space, we're going to do a corner. Corners, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. So there is 2 and 3, chain 2, and into the same space, 3 more double crochets. So I guess the trick is just remembering that you have to finish your corner. So just concentrate when you get to your corners that you're doing your 3 double crochets, your chain 2, and your 3 double crochets into that new corner space. So now feel your way along. There is a space along the side, so that gets 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Into your corner space, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, 1, and 2, and 3 more double crochets into that corner space. 1, 2, and 3. Into that center space along the side, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And now when you get to your corner space where our stitch marker is, 3 double crochets into that same space as your stitch marker. Just to finish off that first corner we started. There's 1, 2, and 3. And then just keep checking if it is the right size. I still have to make mine a little bit bigger. So to join and continue, chain 1, and we're going to, again, feel with your finger and thumb to find that chain, and just feel where the top of it is, and push your hook in. We want to get 2 or most of that stitch on the top of our hook, 2 strands on the top, and single crochet to join. hold that corner open with your finger and thumb and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochets into that same corner space. 1 and 2. So now this is when we're going to move up our stitch marker. So just make a bigger loop and take your hook out and move your stitch marker up to your new corner space. Right there. Just so we can see where it is when we're coming along or going around the corner. Loop of yarn back on your hook. And also, we're not turning our work for making grass. You will find if you're using eyelash yarn, one side will have less of the eyelash and one side will have a lot. I doubt you can really see it in the camera, but the underside is much more lush than the top side. So we don't turn our work when making our artificial grass. Now feel along. We're going to do the same as the last row, but there's going to be 2 spaces along each side. And that's going to be this general rule for as large as you want your granny square to be. Each round is the exact same, except you will have 1 more space along the side. So the next round, if you're making it bigger, will have 3 spaces along the side, etc. So this is the repeat. So into the first space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And into the next space along the side, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. So if you're making yours bigger, you'll just have more spaces here until you reach the corner. When you reach your corners, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets into that same corner space. There is 2, and 3, chain 2, 1 and 2, and 3 more double crochets into that same corner. 1, 2, and 3. So now you can pause the video and keep working along. 3 double crochets into each space along the sides, and corners, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Keep working all the way around, just using your finger and thumb to feel where you're going, and I'll meet you when we get back to our stitch marker. More left-handed crochet tutorials. There are more than 160 of my easy left-handed tutorials in this playlist right here. When you get back to where you started or where your stitch marker is, go ahead and check if it is the right size for your planter box. And this is going to be the right size for mine. I'm going to join and finish. If you want to make yours bigger, just join with a chain 1 and a single crochet to join, and just keep repeating that round until your granny square or your grass is the size you want it to be. When it is the size you want it to be, go ahead into that space with the stitch marker and just finish off that corner with your 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to chain 2 and slip stitch to join. So chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to slip stitch to the top of that chain to join. So just kind of guessing where it is, feeling along as best you can. Try to get most of that chain on the top of your hook. So 2 strands on the top of your hook, and slip stitch to join, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn and pull your hook up and your yarn through, snug that down, and remove your stitch marker. You can sew in your ends if you feel like it, or if you're selling these things, that would be a good thing to do. If it's for your own house, it's up to you if you want to sew in your tail. So then just grab your planter box and put your grass on top. If it's a bit snug, you can give it a little bit of a pull, get it to relax a little bit, and that will fit just right inside your planter box. So now your planter box is ready for your flowers. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video right there, and stay hooked.